Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 260. When we last left our heroes, we shifted focus to Karim and Rekka's encounter. As Karim tried to reconcile the Rekka he thought he knew with the Rekka in front of him, Rekka admits to having always been on the side of the evangelist. There was no point where he was swayed. So Karim kind of had to reconcile those two things, which he kind of did. He decided to fight for how he interpreted Rekka's dream of saving the world, in counter to Rekka's actual dream, which is still a kind of denialism, but it's one that helps him fight, so I'll allow it. All of this is tied up with the Dragon Quest training, as Arthur and Vulcan had to fight their player character's friend. Anyway, let's jump right on into Chapter 260, A True Battle of Fire and Ice. And our picture here is of Karim, using his ice machine, to make like an and sign. Fire and ice. I'm a fire soldier. To be more specific, a lieutenant. Anyway, we pick up where we left off with the fight with Rekka. Karim versus Rekka. Overcome your friend's shade. And it's just Rekka yelling, Karim! That's what I freaking love about you! And we see flames just sort of emanate from Rekka. Ho-Yang kind of like takes the hit and just sort of looks at him. And just then, Konyango shows up. Captain Ho-Yang! Ho-Yan! Get back, Konyango. You're not gonna help? And Ho-Yan says, initially I felt like I ought to help, but this is a fight to give the people hope. If a fire soldier like Karim can't hold on to hope, how can he attempt to save people? Okay, so this is kind of trying to give an explanation to Ho-Yan's actions last time, as he kind of gave the fight to Karim. I sort of mentioned that it felt like a sort of Adola connection with the video game storyline, how Arthur has to be the one to fight and not Vulcan. But it seemed like Ho-Yan does have reasoning of his own. That Karim has to have hope to give hope, and so he has to have this fight to prove his hope. Which, like, this might not quite be the right time, but fuck it, I'll allow it. Anyway, Ho-Yang calls Karim. The three of us were inseparable and always pushed each other. This is all Ho-Yan, trying to encourage Karim. Nobody could ever replace either of you for me. But Rekka's gone now. But you, Karim, you're more important to me than the Rekka who's already gone. And I want that for you too. I want you to value yourself, so you can keep moving forward. And Karim just kind of grits his teeth, hearing Rekka, Ho-Yan's support for him. And he readies his bells, as Rekka goes on the attack. Burn! Like mad! And Karim, don't know why I'm getting them confused, summons like several walls of ice. And Rekka sees it. Break through! And he just with one punch destroys all of them. And Karim kind of like guards himself from the shattered ice. And Rekka says, I remember how I used to train by blasting through the ice you'd make. And Karim responds, yeah, that's right. And he readies a new attack. Rekka gets ready to guard. Storming snowstorm of snow! It's been a long time since we've had a redundant Karim title. So I'm glad that gag is being brought back, as we just see the full flurry of snow being thrown at Rekka. And Rekka laughs. Incredible! Same old Karim. You suck the warmth right out of the room, but shock! And he stomps down on the ground, and he readies his fists. Wave! And he, punches forwards, shooting out a flame. And Karim uses his bell to create like an ice cone that like shields him from the blast. And Karim asks, "Can you hear me, Rekka?" And Rekka responds, "I hear you, Karim. I never miss a word you have to say." And Karim picks up, "You and I got something in common. Whether we were fighting or talking about dreams, we met each other head on. Yeah, exactly. No matter what we did, we clashed full force." And Konyango shields herself from the flames and says, Lieutenant Rekka's flames are too hot to freeze. And Hoyan just sort of watches the fight stoically. And Rekka says, what do you think, Karim? These flames are my dream of despair. My belief. And Karim is finally honest here. The kind of honesty he was really avoiding last week. In the end, I couldn't support your dream. And with that, despite what Konyango said, Rekka's flames are starting to freeze. What? My flames are freezing? And Karim points his whole contraption at Rekka. But Rekka, our friendship was real. Just like your hot-blooded attitude. Just like your sense of justice. And now the ice spreads all surrounding Rekka. He's like waist deep in it. I may not have known the truth, and ended up betraying your dream. But our friendship is unshakable. A true friendship. And Karim grins, having finally found his answer. And that's good enough. And Rekka looks down at him. Yeah, exactly. And the ice, symbolically, a little bit on the nose, but symbolically, his last chapter pointing out that the hole in Rekka as a symbol for the hole in Karim's heart. Now that Karim has found his answer, the hole freezes over. As does the rest of Rekka. I never thought you betrayed me, you know? Keeping secrets from you guys made me feel so guilty. I felt like there was a hole in my heart. But it's because our friendship was true that you ended up filling that hole. So yeah, there's a part of me that's like, Karim is just standing here asserting his friendship with a death cultist. But you know what? It makes sense. He's been, Karim has spent all series kind of trying to reconcile Rekka. The Rekka he knew and the Rekka that was. And this is his answer. His friendship with the Rekka he thought he knew was true. Even if he has to kill the Rekka that was. Anyway, Rekka's line. But it's because our friendship was true that you ended up filling that hole. And Karim tells him, thank you. And then he finishes freezing Rekka. Rekka. I don't know what Rekka is. He finishes freezing Rekka. And Rekka, as he's kind of dying, he's basically frozen, but he can still talk. That's how it always was. The hotter I burn, the more you'd cool me down. And then he screams, "Ooh!" And then the ice just shatters. He shatters himself in acknowledgement of Karim's victory. And the dust clears. Hoyan and Konyango watch. And Konyango just says, this. And then she turns to Hoyan. Captain Hoyan, is this really okay? And Karim and Hoyan look at each other and turn back towards the shards of Rekka. And Karim says, I had to kill Rekka for a second time. Is this all there is to me? And Hoyan comforts him. That's the answer you and he came up with together, isn't it? And then we come back to Arthur and Vulcan, and Arthur is crying. Vulcan, it was for world peace, but he was my best friend. And Vulcan comforts him. You did good, Arthur. You beat him. And Vulcan thinks, the world is literally ending. And what the hell are we doing? Surely the path to salvation lay beyond this battle. Hang in there, Vulcan. We're counting on you. To be continued, chapter 261, Night King Triumphant. Okay. This was a great chapter. It was a lot simpler than last time's. But last time was really sort of fleshing out Karim and what he's really been struggling with for the past 200 chapters. And this chapter is just him finding his answer and, fighting Rekka. And it's great. How he sort of how he sort of reconciles the truth about Rekka and how he feels towards Rekka and how they're both valid at the same time. And that just because Rekka was always evil, that doesn't mean the friendship he had with him is any less true. And that gives him the strength he needs to put Rekka down. That Rekka still has to die, even if they were friends once. Even if they still are friends. He still kind of has to die. And Rekka, acknowledges that and kind of surrenders by the end. Once Kareem has found his answer, he sort of sits back and lets the ice overtake him. His final words also kind of asserting that he did have that friendship with Kareem, that it was mutual. He comforts Kareem at the end, tells him that, like, keeping secrets made me feel so guilty. It's because our friendship was true that you ended up filling that hole. His final words are just there to, like, comfort Kareem, as Kareem has to kill his best friend again. And yeah, it's just a nice resolution to it all. And then, so there's this moment here of, I had to kill Rekka for a second time, is this all there is to me? Which doesn't seem true, although Ho-Yeon's answer is that's the answer you and he came up with together, isn't it? Which implies that, like, maybe it is? It's just a weird moment to end that scene on. I don't know, I think it mostly makes sense, it mostly tracks. In that, like, he has been sort of struggling with this grief about Rekka and his role, and not just Rekka's evilness, but also Kareem's role in Rekka's death. And now he's killed him again. And so, at least for the moment, it makes sense that his initial reaction is like, is this just who I am? Do I just kill my friend all the time? And then, yeah, that's sort of where the chapter leaves off. With one more scene of Vulcan just, like, pondering how the fuck he ended up in this mess. And yeah, next time, Night King Triumphant, I'm guessing will take us to the end of the Dragon Quest storyline. I guess. I honestly don't know what's going to come of that. How it's going to end, because so far each boss has kind of tied into something else going on in the world. With the mid-boss, with the Hog fight, and then the best friend with the Rekka fight. So I don't know if the final boss is going to tie in somewhere, or if it's going to be a bit of a delayed comparison when we actually have the fight with Dragon. I don't know. We'll just sort of have to wait and see. So that's all I have to say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!